Okay, I'm going to go into the story. So in 2018, Bill and I had oh gosh, I was like the year from hell for me. But there were so many magical moments in it as well. And it was amazing how we were guided every step of the journey, even though it was crazy and I don't want to do it again. Thank you.
Yeah, the initiations, please be done with those.
Yeah.
Some of you're like, I'm not gonna make it. That roller coaster game.
Yes, it's like, thank you for being with me and guiding me through it, but please let's not do that again.
So funny.
Oh gosh. So we moved to Ecuador in the end of April in 2018. And our plan was actually we were going to stay there. We were going to make it our home.
Yeah.
And that didn't end up happening. But when we came through the airport, the border security stamped Bill's passport with a visitor's visa, even though he already had a permanent resident visa.
Oh my gosh.
That one thing caused so much paperwork problems.
Oh no.
The border guard stamping his passport with a visitor's visa is the entire reason why we had to end up leaving Ecuador.
But I imagine that there's a reason for that too.
Yeah.
Everything always works out, even though it sucks when it's happening.
Well, then when 2020 started and I was watching what was happening in Ecuador, I was like, okay, I'm glad I'm in the US and not in Ecuador right now, because they were insanely strict on their restrictions in Ecuador for like a year. And it was not quite as bad as Canada, but almost.
Interesting. Didn't know that about Ecuador.
Yeah, there was pretty bad for a while. They had nightly curfews. You couldn't leave your house after 6 p.m. and like you'd be arrested if you were caught out by the cops after 6 p.m. It was kind of
they're
crazy.
holding tribunals now. I'm going to add to the story. They're holding tribunals from other peers, and these people are getting held accountable because it's absolutely crazy how this was all handled. But
yeah, it is. So anyway, back to my story of 2018. So we were there with Bill and I and my doggy Joy from Canada. And while we were there, we got another puppy named Teddy. He's from Ecuador. So we have a Canadian dog and a South American dog.
yeah.
And now we're here in the US and we got another puppy. Her name's Rosie. So now we have a US doggy too. But we were told with less than 2 weeks notice by our immigration lawyer that he could not get this paperwork problem fixed. And we had to get out.
Oh my God.
Of the country with less than 2 weeks notice.
Oh my God.
We did not have enough money at the time to take our dogs with us.
No.
When we had to leave. So I ended up having to leave my 2 puppies behind, and they stayed at Henry's house. Henry was like our everything. He was our immigration lawyer, our taxi cab driver, our translator. He was like life in Ecuador would have been impossible for us without Henry.
Earth angel.
He was like our everything guy.
Angel, yeah.
Anyway, and he took our 2 puppies while we had to come back to the US. So we got back to the US without my 2 puppies. But before that, I was asking for signs that everything was going to be okay and I was going to get my doggies back. And a couple days before we were leaving, or I think it may have been even, I don't remember the timing on this. It was within 2 days of when we had to leave, give or take. And I was taking my puppy Teddy, the littlest one, for a walk just by himself. And it started raining and there were no clouds whatsoever. So it was raining from a clear sky and the sun was coming in at just the right angle that all of the raindrops would like looked like 10,000 little tiny rainbows falling from the sky. It was totally a magical moment. And then I walked past this one place, and there was this one older gentleman standing there, and he was just smiling at me, and he waved hi and smiled. And this is a little similar to your story too. So I waved back and smiled, and he was just like beaming, the like biggest smile I'd ever seen, and just like waving at me. But I just like walked by and waved back, and then like about 30 steps later, I turned around and looked back, and he was gone. It's not there. And I'd never seen him in our neighborhood before. We were there for 6 months, and I walked around a lot. I'd never seen him in our neighborhood before. And oh gosh, so that was another magical moment. And then right when we got in the van to head back to Canada, or head back to the US, and go to the airport, we turned on the radio, and the first song that came on the radio was one of my favorite songs in my entire life. The very first one that came on when it turned it on, and I was like, okay, the universe just wants to tell me everything's going to be okay in life, and it's telling me in so many ways. I just have to trust. So we got back to Canada, I keep saying Canada, we got to the US, and we landed in Florida, and we had to figure stuff out because we had very little money, almost no money. We found out just before we got back here that the person that we had sold Bill's car to in Florida, and so we had driven all the way to Florida and then flown from there and sold Bill's car to a friend of a friend down in Florida. We found out that friend had never registered the car in their name. It was still registered in Bill's name. So technically it was still Bill's car.
Wow.
So I was like, we still have a car. Okay. So we got back to Florida. We got to the car, and we tried to start it and get going. We discover it had been sitting there in Florida for 6 months and had not been moved. Florida is very humid, and it's like saltwater air. So the rotors on the tires had rusted. So like a couple of the tires like literally would not roll for nothing.
Crazy. About Florida, interesting, but it makes sense because they're quite, the weather and stuff. Yeah.
So you can't leave a car sitting for 6 months and expect it to move again in Florida. So as Bill was working on this, and like he was like, oh, it's okay, I'll take care of it. I'll go, and we quickly got like a AMA or AAA or whatever it is. I keep getting it wrong. Between Canada and the US, it's called something.
No, it's probably so hard. Okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Got the subscription, got that, and it was like, all right, we need a tow truck. So we got that. We got the tow truck. We got towed to the nearest place to get it fixed. And they got the tires rolling and all of that. And while Bill was working on it and calling the truck, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go for a walk and pray. And that's just what I'm gonna do. So I just walked around and prayed while Bill was working on the car and getting this all arranged. And I just felt so like at peace. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's all gonna be okay. I just knew it was gonna be okay. It's like, I don't know how, but it's gonna be okay. So got back to the car. There goes my throat now. We got it towed, we got it fixed, kind of. We got it partially fixed. The guy told us, we have Frankenstein this. We don't know how long these brakes will keep working because they've just been jerry-rigged together. This is not a real fix.
Yeah. So enough for you to get around right
now. Yeah. It was like, be very gentle on the brakes because I cannot promise you when they're gonna stop working. I was like, all right. So we got in the car, we got on the road, we were headed to Columbus, Ohio, because Bill had a friend there that we could stay with for a while we got our feet under us and figured out everything.
Nice.
So we started heading towards Ohio, and we got there, and did we go to Anna's house first? I think we went to Anna's house first, actually, in Iowa. Yeah, we did. We went to Iowa first. To my friend Anna's house, and we got there, everything was good. The car made it the entire way, the brakes made it the entire way. We got settled, and I was just like, we were just like resting at our friend Anna's house and recovering a little bit. And then Bill decided to go for a drive to Columbus to go arrange things for a place to stay for us over there. And as he was headed to Columbus, he was just getting onto the freeway, and the brakes decided that was the time to stop working. So he managed to get slowed down and pull over to the side, and called AMA or AAA or whatever that thing is called in the US, and and connected with another friend who happened. He knows people everywhere. He had a friend who lived like not far from where he ended up stopped on the highway. So he called her, and she came and got him, and then AMA took away the car, and he just said, we're done with that one, just like take it to a junk place or whatever. So that went away and was out of our lives, and we had just enough money to lease a new vehicle. So we ended up leasing a new vehicle, and got that done with like $50 left in the bank account after that was done.
So stressful. I honestly I've been like not letting go of jobs because I'm so like I can't trust this way. So this is a great story to be sharing with me. I'm like, okay, you can do this, Jayde. You can do it. So inspiring. Okay.
Oh gosh. So we got the new vehicle, everything was good, got arranged. We ended up getting to our new place. We were staying in Columbus. We ended up living with a lady named Alexandra there for about 3 months. And meanwhile, I was separated from my puppies, which is really hard on my heart because these are my babies. I never had human babies. My babies are fur babies.
Mine too.
Yeah.
My cat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm tearing up the whole time you're talking because of it.
So I was like just going for walks. Like I was like, I just need to move some energy and like get my mind off of it. So I was like, every day I was like listening to audiobooks and walking for like 3 or 4 hours. And it was a really nice neighborhood we were in. So it was kind of nice for like my energy and my sense of prosperity, because at the moment I was technically homeless, living on someone else's couch and in their spare bedroom. And but in the meantime, I was also in this really posh neighborhood. If you're familiar with Upper Arlington in Columbus, Ohio, is like, I'm surrounded by homes in the $500 to $2 million price range. Wow. Which is a lot nicer than it sounds. I mean, in Edmonton, I know like even a normal house is 500,000, but in Columbus and in Ohio, these are all mansions that I'm walking by every day. So that really helped my just like, okay, I might be homeless right now, but look at where I get to be.
And like, yeah, it's the mental constructs that we create around these things too.
Yeah. So I was just really practicing a lot of gratitude for where I was at the time, and that everything was being taken care of and everything was fine. I was reading books like The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murray. That beautiful book, by the way, you should read it, which really helps with understanding like how powerful it is, these images we put in our minds and that we meditate on and develop your faith in that way. And so I was doing that every single day, just sitting on the couch, like picturing my puppies playing in the backyard there.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Aw.
Just bring them home. Just bring them home. And then through a friend of a friend of a friend, through pranic healing circles, somebody who is a fellow pranic healer over in Asia, I think I don't even remember what country she's in now. Anyway, she sent us $3,000 US so that I could go get my puppies back.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
a beautiful
So,
community. Oh my gosh.
oh, and this is nowhere near the end of the story
Oh
yet.
my gosh, yeah, no, I know, I can tell. I'm like, well, we're not even ramping into end. It's
Yeah.
like, this is so cool.
Oh gosh. So I got the money to get my puppies back. So first we tried contacting them and seeing if we could just have them shipped to us so that we don't have to actually travel there to get them. So we were talking to the airline, seeing if we could like pay for them to be put on the plane and sent to us, and then we would just meet them here.
Hmm.
So they said that was perfectly fine and would be fine, and they just have to like find the right flight that would work and all of that. So we paid them to do this. It was like $1,000 we paid them to ship our dogs to us. And then it was like day after day, it was like we're contacting them and they're like, nope, this flight won't work. Nope, this flight won't work. No, this flight won't work either. Nope, not this one. And eventually it was just like, are you ever going to put our dogs in a plane and send them to us? And I think they got sick of us calling or something, but that ended up not working out and they did not refund our money.
I was gonna say, then they just took your money.
They just took our money. Yeah.
Dammers.
So then we had $2,000 left to get our dogs back. So we came up with a plan. Our friend Henry over in Ecuador is going to take care of getting them ready, getting the dogs ready to go and everything. I was going to fly down there, meet the dogs at the airport, be there with them for a few hours on the airport, get on the next plane back to the US, and fly immediately right back out again with my dogs.
Yeah.
That was the plan. That also did not go as planned. I got there and met my doggies there, and they were in their crates, and they were not happy being in their crates, but they were very happy to see me. And I sat on the floor in the airport for like 8 hours overnight, up all night long, waiting for my flight out, which was going to be at 5 a.m. the next morning. I'd arrived at like 10 or 11, something like that, and flying out the next morning. And I go to get on the plane when the time comes and get everything registered and get my dogs on the plane and go. And I'm told that my youngest doggy, Teddy, can't fly because his rabies shot was too recent by 1 week. So I said, you can go, and your older doggy, Joy, she can go, but this one can't fly. I was like, I did not come this far to leave one of my dogs behind. This is not gonna happen. So I ended up not getting on that plane at all. And we had a problem because I had enough money to get us back on the plane to come back to the US. I did not have enough money to also stay in Ecuador for a week until Teddy could fly.
Yeah.
I had enough money for one or the other and not both.
Yeah.
So at first I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh no, I'm like, this is probably the most alone and desperate I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm in a foreign country. I barely speak any Spanish, and I'm in a city. I was at the Guayaquil airport, and the city I had lived in was Cuenca, which is a 4-hour drive away, at least, up in the mountains. And so I'm in a city where I know almost no one. I think I knew one person in that city. but it was not someone that I was feeling particularly trusting towards at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You maybe want to stay with, or yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really somebody I wanted to stay with. So I was like, all right, what can I do? So I was also extremely sleep deprived. I had not slept the entire night.
When you're
So
stressed, yeah, I bet, like, stress trying to get these dogs home, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
being an empath with all of this going on too is a little more draining sometimes, I feel like, because you just give so much to it, you know?
it was. So I was like first thing I did is I had to get the cell phone that I had with me charged up because the battery was almost dead. I was like, I need to get this battery charged because I have Google Translate on this phone, and Google Translate is going to save my life
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
able to talk to people.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I put a lot of thought into thinking about being in another country, not speaking the language lately, so this is so
Yeah. So I got my phone charged up. I had Google Translate. I managed to communicate back to Bill, who was waiting in Florida for me to arrive on the airplane that I was not on.
you're like, "Sky."
Yeah.
Everything's teaching me right now.
Everything's teaching me right now. And so first thing I just did was like, okay, I'm sleep deprived. I feel horrible. I'm all emotional. I just need to get somewhere safe where I can rest for a little bit. This is step one.
Yeah,
Safety and rest.
yeah, yeah.
So, so I managed to get a to a I managed to get a taxi cab that would take me and my dogs, and I managed to find a hostel that would let both of us stay there, let all of us stay together.
Yeah.
So I got to the hostel, and it's really hot. It's like 37 Celsius. It's hot.
Yeah.
And my doggies are getting overheated, and I'm trying to rest and trying to get them food. And this one nice man from the hostel offered to escort me to take me to get food for my dogs. So he walked me to the store, and we got food for my dogs, and he handled the translation for me so I could buy food for my dogs, and we got back to the hospital. And I love how all along this journey God put people in my path
To
that
help
helped
you. Yes, I
at
know, I
every
love
point
this too.
where it was needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And how
finally,
surrendered into trust and faith you are is so moving.
yeah. So I finally got some rest, a little bit, just in time for me to discover that the room in my hostel was right beside the kitchen, and it was time for them to wash the pots and pans.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Bang, 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 all over the place. I'm like, oh, I haven't slept in 36 hours, and now they're washing the pots and pans.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, good Lord. So then, all right, so I was getting on Facebook and communicating with Henry, and by then he was actually like awake and alert, and I could contact him, and he was in Cuenca, and he was like, okay, I will find something for you. So he found me a kind of like an Airbnb house that was close to
Wow.
the airport there, that would let me have my two dogs with me, and they had a private room that was air conditioned, and I was like, yes,
Oh,
let's
thank you,
do it.
Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Henry. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I got to my hostel room, and I was still in touch with other people because I still had to figure out a way to, like, how am I going to pay for my room and pay to get my dogs,
Yeah.
pay to get back home and on the airplane. And we'd ended up forfeiting that airplane ticket, which unfortunately I did not get traveler's insurance on, so I wasn't able to get a refund for it.
Oh,
So then I had to buy another airplane ticket too.
oh my gosh. But like, to me, as hearing this story, this how much you're integrating and learning, even just onto like being in probably like a situation that's so scary to people to think, like I get afraid of being homeless and stuff, and
Yeah.
just to be in that situation and to foster such gratitude and faith, and then things, look how great things manifested, which I'm sure you're still even getting to. So yes, okay.
Yeah. And there was still some difficulties to come.
Oh yeah. No, it's not done. You're totally in an initiation right now.
Yeah,
This is an
this
initiation
was
story.
an
Yeah.
initiation.
Yeah.
This was a all right, grow, push you off the deep end.
Yeah. Fly.
Yeah.
Wings. You have them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So over the next day or two, after I'd gotten some rest, thankfully I had finally slept, I discovered that the owner of this Airbnb liked me a little too much.
Oh no.
And
Sorry. I was waiting for a story like that. I thought it was gonna come with the dog food. Sorry, Kate. Go on.
he liked me a little too much. And in particular, apparently I have beautiful feet.
Thank you. What's not to love, but I'm taken.
Yeah. Yes. And at the same time, I'm in like a precarious situation in a city where I know no one else and I have
Yeah.
nowhere else to go. And simultaneously, it's like temporarily my safety is dependent on this person
Oh no.
being creepy.
Being creepy with your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And all that spiritual energy does make people think they're in love sometimes too. That was
yeah,
another, yeah. So
it does because they feel all that good energy coming from me.
and then they want it.
Yeah.
Something they're seeking, and then they can mistake it for something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kept talking with all my friends and people online, and then we managed to connect through a friend of a friend with a couple that lived in Quito in Ecuador, which is another city. It was like 8 hours away from where I was staying, an 8-hour drive. And this couple were like my angels. They still are. I love them so much. Hinka and Bert, I want to come see you again at some point, but I'll have to pay a $750 fine to get back in the country because I overstayed my visa. So I ended up connecting with Hinka and Bert, and they live up in Quito, and they are just a beautiful couple. They're originally from the Netherlands, and they speak English and Spanish fluently along with Dutch, and they're just a tremendously gorgeous couple, and they have 10 dogs of their own.
Oh my God.
So they're dog people, and they have this wonderful, great big property, and they're quite financially well off for Ecuador. So they for this person, me, whom they did not know at all, there was just a friend of a friend. They paid and sent a van to come pick me up that drove 8 hours from Quito all the way to me to come pick up me and my 2 dogs and take us all the way back to their house up in Quito.
Wow.
And they gave me a private room with that had it was like their little pool room, and they had a pool right out back that was actually, it was a pool that was made for the dogs to swim in. It was a doggy pool. and a little yard for them to run around in. They had like 3 or 4 yards sectioned off, so they just kept their dogs in a different yard.
Oh.
So that they didn't have to mingle.
Living the dream. They're just like, we're just gonna retire in like a beautiful country with our dogs. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to come visit you guys.
They were my angels, and I had my private bathroom and a shower, and they had like a jacuzzi hot tub in there, and Bert made me a bubble bath in the jacuzzi hot tub, and I got to tell you, with those jets going, the bubbles were like almost to the ceiling. It was like jacuzzi tub and me and bubbles.
It's so fun.
It was fabulous. So, oh gosh, I got there, and then from the rest of the trip was like easy.
Mm.
My friends ended up providing for me, and God provided for me every step of the way, and we got out of there. We got home.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
with my
I
dogs.
love how spirit just comes together when you need it. And those initiations, like, thank God we don't have to go through them every time, but
Mm,
they end up just so beautifully, like just showing how beautifully taken care of we are, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful
The
story.
one thing that really stood out to me through that whole experience was how important community is when we
Hmm.
go through difficult things.
Yeah, it's standing out to me even here with you right
Um,
now, sharing this like that.
mm,
So powerful how many people showed up for you and the network, you
yeah.
know, a connection. Hmm.
And also it's funny how during those times you can find out who you can count on and who you can't.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. And it's a testament to you and your heart and your energy, just how many heart bonds you have made, you know?
Hmm.
I think that's so, so beautiful and it's such a beautiful share.
Hmm.
Wow, I took so much from that. I'm still going to be integrating that. And Bill, I feel like I met Bill when you're talking. I feel like I met Bill at a pranic meditation one time in
Yeah.
Edmonton, maybe, but yeah, I feel like I'm just like, yes, I think I know who that is. Yes. So now all your puppies are there. You have a new addition to the
All the
family.
puppies are here, and I've got a new addition, Rosie. She's a chocolate lab, and the other
Mm.
two are golden retrievers.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, love retrievers are so sweet.
Mhm.
I have my cat. She acts like a small dog. Makes sense though, because she's my reincarnated wolf. So she just comes with me all the time. She's
Mhm.
reincarnated as many different animals in my life for sure since
Mhm.
her passing. Um, yeah, I think animal spirits is another lost thing going on in society is
Mhm.
people really need their animal spirits and most people gravitate to cats and dogs, but like I believe we're, there's some people that their animal is snakes and their animal is lizards and like we have spirit animals that match the ecosystems, so I think it's really really important to have animals in your world.
Mhm.
Yeah.